and welcome to episode 331 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, the place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. Joining me, as always, is the creator of the awesome webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
The man who will paint any wagon he sees.
Paint it white.
Because he loves musicals. It's Mr. Tony Esmond.
I almost got you there, didn't I? Almost.
Yeah, almost. But not quite. Come on. This is a hugely professional show, and it's made so because we've got another guest with us.
Roving reporter.
Very pleased to be joined by a friend of the show and the brains behind the blog, Boys Adventure Comics, Mr. Richard Sheaf. Hello, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, look at that. Already bringing the class.
Yeah. Sorry.
He's like the Roger Cook of the ACP.
Yeah.
Our investigative reporter.
Obviously,
doorstepping some clowns. I didn't want to talk about that,
eh? Obviously, long-time listeners will know that Richard's been on a show before, but he has been pounding the mean streets. Which, so don't make it I suppose. Yeah. And seeing some awesome comic stuff that's out there. So we're gonna get a bit of a catch up because all three of us just live in the ACP basement, don't we? We don't see natural light.
I wish we did all live together in a basement and there'd been a nuclear war.
Really?
Yeah.
You wish for a nuclear war?
Just so I can be with you two constantly, 24/7.
Yeah.
as long as Tony's comic collection was with us, we'd be all right.
Imagine that. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be lovely. Yeah, we'd never be cold.
4.5 minutes before we kill each other.
Yeah.
4.5. Cool,
Yeah.
That's a push. Well,
I was being a bit generous there.
Yeah, I've lasted
An hour in.
Yeah.
Hour in, I'd be like, "Can you stop blinking so loudly? You." Sorry, B.
Unbelievable. The hosts every week let me down, Richard. But you know who never lets me down? Our lovely sponsor, Comic House. Yeah, I wasn't going to let you say it this week, Dan, after you said something so naughty. What was that banging noise?
It's the bunker.
Sorry, it's fireworks outside my window.
Right.
Just go on mute.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, no, because it adds quite a dynamic element to the sponsorship has. Because we are in a bunker. But as long as we've got Comic House, we'll be all right, because they're an indie comic marketplace with a difference. They love indie comics as much as we do. If you go to comichouse.com, you can see there's a huge selection of titles on their database. If you self-publish your books, you can list your books on there and start selling another avenue to start selling your books. They also have an amazing digital app which has featured sections. It's basically like Netflix for comics. It's only like £3 a month, and you get access to an enormous library of digital indie comics, which is being added to all the time. Dan, what sort of stuff is on there at the moment?
We've got Surrealsville Volume 7. We've got Expired Volume 1, Issue 1. Voodoo Nations Volume 1, Issue 2. Phantom Lady Issue 4. And we mentioned it last week, Stake Volume 1, Issue 1 and 2. So I want to check that one out.
Is that Stake, Steak?
Sure is.
Is that the one about the dinosaurs? Someone travelling back in time with
flesh
to get dinosaur meat?
I can't remember. Let me look at the synopsis quickly.
Okay. I like it when you read the synopsis.
I can't find the synopsis. The first issue of Stake has disappeared, but I can see issue 2, and I know the synopsis for issue 2 isn't that great. But I'm going to click on it anyway.
Do it.
And
look after your synopsis, people, because this is what's needed.
With guilt and unsure where to turn or who to trust, Buckland decides the best thing to do is keep working, even without Duckowitz. Meanwhile, their rivals are making some bold moves. I mean, I don't know what that comic's about from that synopsis.
Oh, no idea what that means.
Okay, we're going to come round to this subject in a second when we finish this sponsorship bag, because I think it's a nice talking point. But yeah, you can find all of that and more, because there are new comics being added to all the time. And who knows what will be added to after Thought Bubble and beyond. So if you want to find out more, start a 14-day...
Pete's going to be there, isn't he? He's coming along, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's giving a talk on the British Museum.
Of course he is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go to that.
Yes. And
Pete's funny.
Oh, he's a legend, as is all the Comic House guys. And if you can start your 14-day free trial and find out more about the awesome comics that we talk about every week by going to comichouse.com.
I'm a member of the British Library. It's good. If you're a member, it's not expensive. You can do various things, get free into exhibits free. But also they've got a lovely little private members restaurant on the top floor.
Ooh, what are they like
Yeah, it's
in,
nice.
in terms of late fees?
Don't fuck about.
They don't tell you to shush as much, if you remember. It's fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you only get sexy librarians like you see in porn films.
Right. So it's a fictional library.
How much is the membership?
I think it's like 60. It's £60, but bring your own lube. I think if that's the
Fair play. It's Corona times, isn't it? You got
you got to be careful.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyway, back to comics. Before this show goes completely off the rails. I'm only joking. It's never on rails.
Yeah.
But I think that's quite interesting what you talked about just then. The importance of a synopsis in comics. Now, it's something that we've talked about. I mean, I know usually I mention them because they are an essential tool for me when I'm talking about like comics that I'm reading on Comixology or any format like that, because it's a handy. Well, I think for any reviewer or podcast or whatever, it's like a little list. It's just a nice little paragraph to tell you what the comic's about.
It's always useful when you can't make head and tail of the comic you just read to go back and read.
Yeah. But the synopsis for an issue 1 is normally the back of the video box, the overview of the series, isn't it? Really? That's
Sometimes too much on Comixology. We've said that before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's too much on there.
So many times. How should you treat a synopsis for issues 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. for new readers? Because, like you say, Dan, when you said that synopsis, you're talking about established... in that book, it was talking about established characters, but these are characters we do not know. If you're not a mainstream book, like, for instance, if you're a Batman, you can talk about all these different characters because we've got a tangential... We kind of know what we're talking about. But when it comes to like a crime book, you're not going to know who these characters are, so therefore you're not as invested in what you say. Like, for instance, if it just sort of, Tony is stuck down a sewer and Dan has nowhere to find it because his leg's been bitten off. I mean, that'd be amazing.
Why am I in a sewer?
I don't. Exactly. You got.
Well, that's where I go with it. I'd say, why is Tony stuck in a sewer, and where have Dan's legs gone? They've disappeared. That's what I'd write in my synopsis.
Okay, I made a mistake by making it about us, so therefore we're hugely interested in it. But if
there's a metaphor for comics there somewhere.
Yeah. But if, for instance, for the stranger who doesn't know anything and just sees these names, there's no investment, is there? There's no connection.
No.
Do you think those synopses just... People need to think more about their synopsis for issue 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, Dan, you've done so many. How do you handle them?
I literally do like a briefly touch on the what's gone before and give an overview of like the story. I can't recall what I've written on previous Vanguard books, but they're downstairs. But like for the fourth one, I just kind of did a rough synopsis of what's in the book, like maybe bullet points, just to tease people to get into it, and then find out more in book 4. It's all revealed in Vanguard book 4. I think I put the synopsis.
It's not often I'll read. I'll be honest with you. It's not often I'll read a synopsis for book 2, issue 2. For book 2, maybe if it was a graphic novel. But for it, I'll read issue 1, and then I'll kind of know what's happened enough. It's in my head enough. What about you, Rich? Do you do that?
I definitely. I do prefer to have something to remind me because it might be a year between issues.
At least sometimes.
Might want to thought bubble one year, thought bubble the next year, and although probably the world is familiar because you think, oh yeah, I read that last year, it was really great, and that's why I'm back at your stall this year to buy another one. But then sometimes, if you don't even have something, it just sort of boom, the first panel is just straight into it. It's like, oh, hang on, it will just remind me, just cue me up for who the 3 main characters are. Why he's down the sewer? Why he's lost his leg?
So like a previously. Previously happened in this series. I get you.
I think and Dan, I've just looked at your Vanguard comics and Comixology just to get an example of it. And this is, for instance, every new issue is possibly someone's first issue, isn't it?
That's what I think it is.
Certainly, when I see later issues, I will think that sounds cool, but I've got to go back to issue 1. But for instance, I just picked Vanguard 14. Sorry if this embarrasses you, Dan, because I picked out your
That's
comic.
All right, go for it.
But this is how I think it's done right. Salisbury explodes into conflict. The Wolf's Head and her allies must face an army spearheaded by a trio of ruthless metahuman mercenaries. Not only that, Jordana must deal with the Demon of Salisbury, who plans to destroy the Wolf's Head before her mission to save the country can even begin. All this and more in Vanguard, issue 14.
That's all right. That works fine, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Don't really kind of know too much what the characters are, but you can think, there we go. This is what's going to happen in this issue.
Yeah, not only that, but like, you know, even if someone who doesn't know who Jordana is, you've immediately described the situation that a character's in, which is quite an epic. It sounds like an epic.
It's also
situation.
a sell, isn't it? You're trying to sell people into the story. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mean to pick on that fucking previous comic, but that gives us nothing. There's no
Yeah,
there's no
it could be amazing. That's the thing. It could be amazing. So sometimes it's, you know, it's just another. There's so many avenues to think about when making comics, isn't it? That sometimes something like this is maybe seen as, I've got to do this. But it's.
I think for issue 2, you've got to throw yourself into it, because nobody can go, spoilers. Well, go and look at the synopsis for issue 1 then. You know, why are you reading the synopsis for issue 2? It's a bit like that. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So I think for issue 2, you've got to throw yourself in and at least say what has happened in issue 1. If there's a huge spoiler, you know, if at the end you discover that your mum's your dad or something, you know, then you got to say, oh no, the big effects from the end of issue 1 resonate through the, you know, who is the father, you know. It's all that's like, you can do that without giving away the twist ending, but I think you've got to be careful.
Reeling from the revelation of the last issue. Do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And you think, oh fuck me, what happened in the last issue? And then you and they've got you, and you jump in reading.
Yeah. It's
more boobs in this issue. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, it's certainly a you know, some synopsis you can use a bit of humour. You don't have to give anything. You don't have to give too much away. But also it can be a massive sort of highlight into what people can expect for an issue as well. You can use it as a tool to surprise people. Obviously, don't mislead anyone, because we've certainly read books and be like, yeah, this is nothing like what I read.
yeah. I hate people who say this is Buffy crossed with the Sweeney. No, it's fucking not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that, something, you know, what are you going on about?
Yeah.
How good are you two at removing your eyes when you sense there's a spoiler coming? I've trained myself now. If I'm reading like a blurb online or in a magazine or something about a comic or something, and it says, oh, by the way, the revelation that, you know, John is the murderer from last issue, I can actually, it says the revelation that John, I can move my eyes away now.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
I've got to be really careful, because like I can just see a fraction of it and my brain will just fill in the plot immediately.
Yeah.
Got it. Like I only have to see a bit of like a trailer, and I see like maybe everyone's like this. You see a scene, and then like you think, well, we're working out from what this is doing, that scene's going to fit in that part of the movie, and it's probably going to mean this. And I say, oh fuck's sake, it's fucked it up. That's why, like, if I'm interested in seeing a film nowadays, I don't watch the trailers.
Yeah. I think as well, if you're watching, or if you're reading a long running series or watching a long running TV series, and they have images at the start that summarise what's previously gone before, sometimes so much has gone before that they may focus in that summary on a single person. You think, oh, they're coming back this issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like that. You can almost work out how they do it, and that leads you to work out the plot, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. You kind of know the formula, and then...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
by showing bits of the formula, you okay, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Do you think the impact of like the guided view is important here? Because I think sometimes, you know, when I'm reading a comic, you sort of, you know, you shouldn't have the reveal on the bottom right hand panel, should you? It should be over the page. But sometimes you sort of open that page and you think, whoa, there's something much more interesting going on in the bottom right hand page, and you just start reading that panel before you haven't read the 15 panels before it.
Especially if it's really wordy, you know.
That's going to be a bit of a ball ache to read through. I'll just go and look at that panel over there, because that's quite exciting. But with guided view, if you just got one panel at a time coming at you, you know, you can control the pace, and you know, you don't have to. Worry
I don't mind guided view. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I never used to do any of that shit, but I quite like it.
I certainly think it works really well for some comics. Like today, I read the latest issue of Vinyl. And just that with a horror book, when you've got that pacing where you don't, I mean, it's lovely looking at the pages and seeing the gore or the, you know, the action and the monsters and stuff. But with guided view, it keeps that every panel's a page turn. You're never quite sure what the next panel is going to be, so it can be really effective sometimes.
occasionally I play that game in my head to say, "Oh, that's not that detailed. That's a smaller panel." I do that occasionally.
Yeah,
and then I'll double tap to see the whole page. That is a full page.
It was
it's a bit like that sometimes.
tricky reading older comics because when you get the zoomed in, it's really kind of, oh god, that looks a bit.
Yeah,
I think we did it on that Mr. Miracle. I read that.
Yeah,
and it was it looks a bit. I'm not going to say amateurish, but you're kind of like.
Under detailed, yeah.
Yeah, but when it goes back to the reveal, it's like, well, it's fine on the page. I mean, that's something small press creators are going to be able to explore that medium and how to tell the story that way, because with the new Amazon, now we don't do Comixology. Well, it's in the process of changing over. It'll be up to the creator to define that process of the panels, the guided view. So
JWC was talking about it on the Slack yesterday, wasn't she? And she says it's quite easy to do, but there is a bit to it. I think.
Yeah,
because you basically work the flow out yourself. I think, is that right?
Yeah. So essentially, if you went onto a splash page, but it had 3 panels within the splash page, you go to the side right. Do they see the whole page first, or do they see the splash part and then focus on the 3 panels, or the 3 panels then the whole page in its entirety, and then the larger image? It's you got to make additional creative decisions based just on that.
Yeah, and also if there's that little story trick, story plot point, Easter egg, whatever you want to call it, tiny in the middle of a page, what do you do with that? Do you know what I mean? Do you do that as a whole thing? It's interesting, isn't it? It really, I think, certainly it's going to affect artists going forward, and he has done, I'm sure, already. Where artists, we're seeing it already, aren't we? The artists are putting a lot more detail into some pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's the point when you just do a series of boxes that you press and click and animate along? Does the page layout lose something? Because
page layout's a big thing, and something that's been talked about by J.H. Williams and these sort of people. We've talked about it a lot in the past, haven't we? But it's just broken now, isn't it, in a way?
Well, also like with the scrolling format, that kind of blows my mind. I try to think about how would you design something out, and it's a completely different way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a different beast, isn't it? Really, like we've talked before how like comics originated as a disposable medium. They have now moved into being an interactive medium. Sometimes successfully, sometimes, bells and whistles are nice, but sometimes it just ends up being noise.
That's what a comic. Yeah. I think as well is you look at an artist like Steranko or Galassi or someone like that who splits a page up. He actually splits the image up with panel borders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You almost leap through a panel, don't you? And there's going to have to be a skill to how you break that up. And
There's that connecting comic artist, and there's a lot of people on that who now ask for digital artists.
Okay.
Making an actual preference to say I want to work with a digital artist and not traditional, which is like, okay, that's interesting. I don't know why that choice. Maybe it's easier for kind of like transmitting the files to one another or something, but
easier to change. That experience where they've asked for changes. Yeah.
There's got to be a reason for why people are preferring to work with digital artists, because scanning something's a piece of piss.
Is there a cleanup process that goes through when you scan something in though? Does that slow you down a bit, or is that a pain in the arse? Or
it depends. I don't know about you guys. Like if I've scanned it in physical work as I used to all the time, it's easy to kind of get it cleaned up. It's really simple. It's not really that big of an issue.
Right.
I don't know. Really. Don't know the reason.
Comics are hard work.
Yeah,
it's easy being a writer.
Wow. You liar.
Oh yeah. These days, everyone has to be everything, don't they? They have to be their marketer, they have to be their promoter, they have to be their agent, they have to be everything, don't they?
Is it called being versatile?
Or no. There's lots of words that I can think of that I'm not going to use. I just thought that was quite interesting. See, we start off on one topic and look where we end up. The state of comics today.
Oh, bloody comics!
It's interesting because I was thinking, like, if I was going to do Iron Eagle after Vanguard, I was thinking I'd do it as one of those scrolling comics, and I was thinking, right, how can I get the most out of this? Because those comics seem to have like, there's a lot of it, but the content is very sparse. It feels like kind of,
it's like a manga almost, isn't it? A bit.
It's like butter spread thinly over bread. Whereas like weird comic would use one page to tell this story, that they fucking scroll on forever to play a scene out, because you want the reader to spend more time on your comic, not so much getting the hits out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you know, like YouTube videos where if you do 10 minutes, you can advertise it. So they'd stretch an idea that you could cover in 30 seconds out to 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on there.
Feels bloated, and there's a lot that I see on the scrolling stuff.
And it's interesting, like, are they thinking about a print edition eventually and how that's going to read? Because a lot of these get turned into collections, don't they, eventually?
I don't know how those... Presumably you must think of a format. There must be, if I did research it, I'm sure someone's already conquered this, but like how those scroll comics, how would you format that to go into a print comic? And is there a working method you set out at the start for that process? Do you know what I mean? Like if you think, right, this dimensions, I've got to have a cut there at that page so it fits within a 21 page issue or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
Also as the scrolling thing.
Yeah. Interesting. But
perhaps we get someone a bod on who knows
what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, we will. We'll talk about anything on this show.
Because I'm talking out of my arse on that regard.
Never, Dan. Never.
I'm doing the old fucking Ace Ventura.
But our detective for the week,
investigative detective journalist,
the detective journalist, man about town, and general legend is our guest. Who's just you're being very, very well behaved.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the self-styled London correspondent of Down the Tubes. This is how I get to get out and about in the comics world mainly. So all those events we're about to discuss, they're all care of John Freeman, who lives 300 miles away and can't ever go to all these things he gets invited to in London. But luckily, people who live nearby. So,
so what on earth have you been up to?
I've been to a few things recently.
What should we start with?
Yeah, what should we start with?
Shall we start with the Beano?
Yeah,
yes.
go on.
Always.
Yes. Always.
Yeah.
Everything starts with the Beano.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything comes back to 2018. No, everything comes back to the Beano.
Yes. Yes.
I've been. So I guess So we've had quite a number of, I suppose, big exhibitions about comics in London over the last.
We've been doing
years.
all right, haven't we? Yeah, we had the manga one, didn't we? We've had a few things recently. Yeah.
Comics Unmasked at the British Library. When was that? 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, manga at the British Museum. So and so some big ones. But I think this exhibition at Somerset House, which has had good comics stuff before.
They had the Peanuts one there, didn't it? A few years ago.
Yeah, the Peanuts one a few years ago, and they had an exhibition about Hergé, the Tintin artist.
Right.
That I went to a few years ago, and I when John sent me the invitation for this, I thought, for anyone who's familiar or unfamiliar with Somerset House, when you sort of enter it from the Strand, you can see sort of the main square, which used to be the car park when it was Inland Revenue, but now that's where they have the ice skating rink.
That's where they have gigs, isn't they? They have gigs there, don't they?
Yeah,
I saw. I hate to admit it, but I saw Snow Patrol there once. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got moving on.
That was shade. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
And off to the left of that, in sort of one of the wings of Somerset House, that's where I saw the Hergé exhibition, and I thought the Beano exhibition would be in that space, but it's not. It's in their main exhibition space, which I don't know how many sort of square foot that is, but it's really big. I mean, I saw Paul Gravett on Facebook the other day describe it as the single biggest exhibition we've ever had in this country dedicated to a particular title.
I must get down to this,
because I can think I've been to Southport, on Merseyside for some of their sort of Dan Dare and Eagle exhibitions they've had, and that's in their sort of, I'm not doing it down the Atkinson Art Gallery, but it is their sort of town museum, / art gallery, and it is, big and it is nice, but it's not as big as Somerset House, it's not as big as the British Library exhibition space. So that has taken over their exhibition space. So it's their first exhibition they've had basically since COVID. They started planning it a couple of years ago, and amazingly, it hasn't been derailed by COVID. They've managed to, they kept it on sort of on track, even during the pandemic. It didn't get blown off course by that, and it's opened about a week ago. Opened on the 21st of October, and it runs till the 6th of March. So it's on for whatever that is, 5 or 6 months, and it's called Beano, The Art of Breaking the Rules. So, I mean,
What does it mean by that? Because obviously an exhibition title is always a loaded thing, isn't it? You know, whenever you've been to any art exhibition, like there's usually a sting in the tail. But whenever, like, probably the larger audience, or certainly comics people, for want of a better word, snobs, they'd be like, Beano, breaking the rules, please.
It kind of, what in my head, I see it like that, because it's very much, and something we talked about off mic was it's the forerunner of Viz, really, the Beano, isn't it? From many years beforehand, it's the first working class. Everyone's a rebel, aren't they? There's a bit of that going on. You think, or?
Yeah, I think. I mean, the subtitle you mentioned there, The Art of Breaking the Rules. So actually, this exhibition has got a lot. We're coming to in a minute, I'm sure, of original art from the Beano. You know, the DC Thompson archive has been well and truly raided. There's, probably it's nearly a couple of hundred original pages of original art that are on display there, and that's mixed in with modern pieces, modern art. And some of that modern art existed already. So, and some of it has been commissioned for this exhibition. And I suppose it's trying to look at people who maybe read the Beano and then have gone on to become modern artists, and maybe how the Beano has subconsciously or consciously affected them and their desire to break the rules, to be different, to do something different. So I don't know, it's like Sarah Lucas's portrait. Sarah Lucas, the sort of one of the YBAs, the sort of young British artist, there's that picture of her sort of slouched in the seat with sort of two fried eggs on a black t-shirt. So that is in there, and you think, oh, that's quite a well-known piece of work. But then there are other things in there which, like I said, have been commissioned for this. And I think actually the pieces that have been commissioned for this and which play on the Beano work the best, because they're really sort of trying to look at the Beano and think about how can I make art about the Beano. There's one right at the start which is by, I forget the artist's name, but it's in the style like of an L.S. Lowry painting. And it's got all the sort of the Beano characters, sort of like one of those sort of, was it like on the way to the mill or on the way to the football match? We get the sort of the foreground with all the characters walking along, and the sort of the sooty industrial background in the past in the background. But actually, when you so you look at it and think, oh, that's like an L.S. Lowry painting. It's by David Litchfield, that's his name. But actually, you sort of out the corner of your eye think, oh, it's an L.S. Lowry painting. But then you look at it a bit closer, you think, hang on. No, it's not. It's actually, Big Ego, the sort of the ostrich used to be on the front of the Beano, and Lord Snooty, and and suddenly it's like, hang on, wait a minute, and you've stopped, you've done a double check, and suddenly you're looking at all these little pictures, all these little L.S. Lowry like figures, and realizing they're all characters, and then you're going, all right, which one's that? Which one? Oh, do I know that one? Is that just a generic kid? Or no, hang on, that one there, top hat, that's Lord Snooty. Hang on, that's Biffo the bear. Who's that sort of thing? So so I think the ones that people have been commissioned, I think, work better than slightly, plonking, like I'm going to Klaus Oldenburg's sculpture of a pair of knobbly knees, which is in the exhibition, which I'm sure has its place, but I prefer there's several pieces which are, like I say, bespoke for this exhibition, and they work really well, but. So that's the sort of the art of breaking the rules. So there's the art, as in the original comic art, and then there's the art in terms of, I suppose, the modern art. But even that, I think, if you're a kid and you sort of, I don't know, you see a poster for the Beano exhibition, and you nag your parents enough to go to it. Actually, as a kid, when you get in there, the first room you go into is like they've got these rooms. They've set it up as sort of different rooms. So like the first space you go into is sort of set up as a museum, and then you go on and there's various other rooms. So the first room, the museum room, has got loads of like early W.D. Watkins, work in there. In W.D. Watkins, he did the Bruins or Willie, as well as stuff for the Beano. And actually, as a parent, the kid, if you turn up with a 5-year-old, you won't know W.D. Watkins from anyone. And even if you trot that kid around, it takes quite a long time to get to the sort of the more modern, Beano stuff that they'll go, oh, hang on, here's something from the early 2000s. Well, actually, if you think you might read the Beano for 5 years, you need something from the last 5 years.
Yeah, early 2000s is still a long way off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
quite recent. Oh, look, there's Laura Howell or something. But Laura Howell. Oh, okay. Laura Howell still works for the Beano. You know what I mean? But it takes a while. Yeah. So actually, there's loads of stuff in there that actually the kids will go, I don't know who this Lord Snooty guy is. I don't know who this Biffo the Bear dude is. Move along. So actually, the kids will be going,
why is his dad hitting him with a slipper?
But actually, if you're a parent, you might suddenly go, hold up, I didn't know there was going to be. Oh, I used to love Biffo the Bear, and suddenly, maybe you've been, suckered in by your kid, and suddenly you're thinking, oh, I tell you what, they've got a Jonah strip over there. I used to bloody love Jonah, or it's the three, Little Plum, the three bears, or whatever they're called. So
yeah.
So it's a bit strange like that. If you're a 5-year-old or whatever the average age of a Beano reader is, I think it's fun and it's colourful and there's lots going on and you can zip around, go from room to room because there are a lot of rooms. There's a lot of stuff going on. But actually, it will take you quite a long time for you to get to anything that you recognise as being in your Beano.
I get you.
I guess there are characters that have been in it for a long time, so you can think, oh look, here's a funny version of, Dennis the Menace from a long time ago. You'd recognise the character, even though you wouldn't be able to say, "Oh, look, that's David Law," or but you'd recognise him as a character. So it's so it's an interesting sort of mix.
It sounds like it's the history of it. It doesn't. I'm gonna from what you're describing, it's not totally designed for kids. It's designed to exhibit the history of the Beano, which is it's a landmark, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess, and some of it, obviously is. Highlights things that and it says in the captions this description of characters based on racial stereotypes, sexual stereotypes, which were not popular but which are of their time and it says these were stereotypes which are which prevailed at the time. They were wrong then, they're wrong now, they were wrong then, we're showing you, and like you say, like with Dennis getting slippered and they've moved away from that as the that's the answer to all the that's what happens in the final frame. That doesn't happen and hasn't happened for a long time. But the quality of the art, the artists they've got, the stuff they've got from the DC Thompson archive, is
oh mate, it must
fantastic.
be. I'm so desperate to get to it. Yeah, I need to get down there.
Yeah,
and have a look at it.
Yeah, Ken Reed pages.
Oh, nice.
Leo Baxendale is in there. It's just here's half a dozen Leo Baxendale pages in here. Oh my god, it's just fantastic. And like Jonah, I always used to love Jonah. I didn't read the Beano or even the Dandy as a kid, but I could somehow tell that there was something about Jonah as a strip. And for anyone who's never read it, he's this character. He gets on board a ship, and whatever happens, that ship will sink. It's just it's just a series of calamities when he gets on board a ship, and it was just and it's just sort of the opposite of like those IPC humor comics, which Pat Mills will tell you, is like he couldn't work out why they were still publishing these comics because they just weren't funny anymore.
Yeah.
You got these old blokes sucking pipes and sort of writing for Whizzer and Chips, and then you think you wonder why it died. It's stopped being funny. Whereas Jonah, it's just there is so much action on every single page. It's just squeezing as many more and more panels into a page. It's just.
Who was the one we met at Nottingham, Vince? Was it Nigel Parkinson? I'm going to say. Was he the dude? Do you remember?
He's a Beano artist, Nigel Parkinson.
Yeah, he's a nice dude. I remember when we did Nottingham. Yeah. It was like his first time he did a convention, and he quite liked it. And then he's doing a few now. He's doing one I'm going to mention yet later. But he's an entertaining dude.
Yeah, I've met him at a con, not at Nottingham, but at one in London. And I didn't know and met him, and it's not really my area of knowledge or collecting, but it was so great to meet, even though I was just sort of trying to sort of walk past his table politely, without trying to buy anything, but it was just,
we do that a lot of cons, don't we?
Talk about Thought Bubble later, but we're but he was so engaging and so nice, and so I'd really recommend.
But I think you're right there, Rich. Is the thing is with the Beano is I haven't read the Beano for decades, but there's such a nostalgia in it that I'm desperate to go and see this exhibition, like you see for people like Ken Reid and Leo Baxendale and stuff like that. That's the stuff. I mean, I bought a book of Ken Reid's recently. Just it's so nostalgic. It really brings back your childhood, doesn't it? I think.
And also, it's still absolutely kicking ass to this day. I think
great, isn't it? I just looked it up. 1938 it started. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. And I mean, there's some of the stuff they've got. Comics. Stuff they've got in there is, I mean, as well as having they've got the original art for the first Dennis the Menace strip. They've got the first art, I think, in there for Minnie the Minx. Right. And they've got in that first room, you go in the museum room. They've got sort of the notes from the editor about. So Big Ego, who was the character that was on those really early issues of the Beano, which was sort of the ostrich character, and it was a wordless sort of strip, and he was always losing his egg. He was supposed to be hatching this egg out, but it's got the original sort of memo saying, here are my 3 ideas for humorous adventures for Big Ego and his egg. And it's oh my god,
they lose the other 2 every week.
But oh my god, it's incredible that you've not only have you found you've kept that as a
that's brilliant.
Institution.
That is great.
And then you can share it. But like I say, I mean, it's just it's just original art everywhere, and from like I say, this really early sort of 30s and 40s stuff. Some of the sort of the wartime strips, but then obviously Ken Reid is after that, and it's just Sandy Calder for like the Billy the Cat, for some of that. There's Minnie the Minx. There's so many artists that are in there. It's a fantastic collection.
Is there any merch there at all? Was there much to buy?
Oh my god, is there merch? Wow! I tell you, you go into you sort of trot all the way around, and it is. I mean, I was in there for 2 hours when I went, and that was I went on the press view. So, which is not to show off. What I mean is there weren't many people there. So actually, I could go around at my own pace. I didn't have to sort of think, hang on, this is taking a bit longer than I wanted to, because I had to queue up behind, kids who were doing stuff. It was like, no, this was, it would have taken longer if there were, a normal amount of people in there. And then when you get right to the end, you go into the shop, and the shop is like a whole wall of like Beano t-shirts. There's a whole wall of Beano books, all sorts of reprints or sort of, modern things that they produce, Dennis and Nash's Guide to Life, and whatever it is, and then the sort of tables, it's covered in stuff as well, in terms of branded merchandise, and there's a sort of the catalogue that you get. It's not a catalogue; it's an exhibition comic, actually.
Okay, that's nice.
So that that sort of like it looks like a normal sort of issue of the Beano, but it's got a bit of history in there as well, and it's got sort of the curator, the guy who's organised this, Andy Holden, I think his name is. He features in it quite a lot, and there he is. I'm looking at it now. Words by Andy Holden, art Nigel Parkinson. There we go.
Oh, nice.
And then the lovely Tom Patterson back page, Calamity James. Tom Patson's again, he's a fantastic artist as well, and you can really, I mean, obviously heavily influenced by Leo Baxendale, but again, he was just one of those artists. I didn't know his name when I was reading his stuff growing up, but it's one of those artists who just tries to fill every frame with as much as possible. There's always stuff going on. There's not just draw man walking across the street. It's like man walking across the street, but then there are like the mice are walking around, and there's a crow flying by, and it's just he just tries to fill every page.
I mean, we go on about Sergio, from America doing that, in Mad Magazine, but they were doing that already in the Beano for years, for decades beforehand. So the merch is is a fantastic display. See my review on downthetubes.com or .net for more photos. But there is an awful lot of merchandise. Like I say, this sort of exhibition comic is. I think it's a £5, but it's it's really nicely done. So it's not it's trying to
encourage kids to end up with one of those to take home rather than, some big waiting.
That's not stupidly expensive, is it? Yeah, that's great. No. That's a good price.
No, I think it's a good price. But yeah, if you want, like I say, there's T-shirts, there are pillows, there are cards.
Do they sell a red and black striped jumper? Because that would go down a storm.
They've got some. I can see. Looking at my photos now, there's definitely a red and black T-shirt. You could definitely help yourself to a red and black T-shirt. And they've got posh merch as well. Radley, you may not be aware of Radley, or you might be. You might have other halves with expensive taste. They do like posh handbags and things.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know Radley.
Yeah. So they've got like Beano themed posh handbags. If that floats the boat for the significant other in your life.
In the Beano, if one of the kids like lost their clothes or they didn't have money for clothes, they always came in like with a barrel with braces on. And then why a barrel?
Don't you have one lying around, Dan, just in case?
It's usually like the Bash Street kids, like some kid wouldn't have any clothes because like they're too poor or something. They'd come in with a barrel with braces on.
There's a great one of the sort of the contemporary pieces they've got there is a take on David Hockney's painting. Is it called a splash or a bigger splash?
Oh yeah,
like one of those sort of California guy diving into a swimming pool.
Yeah, I know the one.
And bathed in sort of glorious California sun. Anyway, there is one of those with Dennis in a barrel and braces. Or is he maybe he's just in his swimming trunks, but he's diving in, and that is, like you say, very, very evocative of that era and that style of if you forget your swimming trunks, then you're in trouble. Let me just have a look. Oh no, he's not. I've just checked. He's got his red and white. He's got red and black swipe swimming trunks in. But again, it's a play on it. It's really
that's nice.
Like you said, Viz, you can go straight from the Beano to Viz because a lot of the language and the way they sort of do the comics, you jump from one to the other, and it is kind of like I feel very much like it's a working class kind of.
Yeah, that's what I miss. Yeah. There's a great documentary. I think it's from a one show episode where John Sargent gets shown around the offices of the Beano. There's a great. If you look on YouTube, it's a really fun one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. So, yeah, as one of my other favourite pieces that it was a new installation was there's like a model of Beano Town because they all shared universe. They all live in the same town, don't they? There's always sort of crazy stuff going on, and they I forget the artist who's done it, but there is it's one of those sort of corporate promotional videos that sort of say, "Welcome to Stevenage, the home of quiet industry since 1822." One of those really sort of corporate. You just feel the life sagging out of you as you start to listen to this sort of soothing voice telling you about this dull town. And so it's done by people who are in Saint Etienne. I think it's like
the band.
Yeah, the band. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think one of them has done the music for it, and one of them is I think maybe she. Is it Sarah? Oh, I can't remember. She does the words, and then one of the guys has done the music, and it's doing this sort of the home of the largest sausage roll factory in the world, and then there'll be all these sort of frames from the comic of just ridiculous accidents and just death and destruction going on at the largest sausage roll factory in the world, but they're really extolling it as a virtue of this is so lovely Beano Town. It's a very large mountain, and then there's people killing themselves, just falling off the mountain and thing. And it's just sort of, really plays on that sort of, this is the sort of thing you would see if you lived here. We'd have a lovely corporate video, but the corporate video is, completely corrupted because it's full of Beano characters, just whacking the six shades out of each other.
Yeah, it does sound good. The anarchy that was everywhere in British comics back then. I like you got it in 2000 AD with stuff like Ace Trucking Co and all this sort of thing as well, didn't you? We got it all over the place. I miss that actually. I miss that kids don't see that quite as much possibly. Yeah, because they're just all fucking nutters, aren't they?
Yeah. They're all
nutters.
Yeah.
They're all going. But there's and the other one I'd recommend is again it's sort of buried in the depths of the modern art section. But there's one where it's like it's called something like what was it? They're all on Zoom basically. There was all the Bash Street kids have grown up, and they're on It's Dennis and Nasher Zoom. It's called, and they've all grown up and they're all on Zoom, and it's and what they all look like now. I think Minnie the Minx I think she's become a wellness coordinator and things like that.
I do have a theory that Simon Russell is an ex-Beano character. I've told him that.
Which one?
He's definitely Natcher, and you can tell. He's got that look in his eye. Yeah.
I reckon it could be Roger the Dodger. I think Black in the Abyss drawing.
So how long is this exhibition on for?
Until the start of March. 6th,
that's brilliant.
6th of March.
Yeah.
So it's on for ages, and I think I did have the prices as well. I think they were about. I think it's about £16 for an adult, which is probably full price is £16, which is A, a lot, but is B, what you would pay if you were going to see something at National Portrait Gallery.
Well, it's an art exhibition. It's not.
And if it's that massive, man, it is. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about how like the sequential medium, no matter in all its forms, should be treated the same as all these other art mediums. So we have to deal with the fact that when it is, we've got to deal with the same prices.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you can, if you're a family of 3, so 1 adult and 2 kids is £22. So
that's all right.
I mean, it's better than a normal art exhibition, isn't it? Because like you got something for your kids as well. So there you go.
And you can spend loads of money on handbags at the end.
Oh, I mean, that's the dream, isn't it, Tony?
What are they called? Radley? Is that what they're called?
Radley. Yeah.
Radley,
as you well know, Tony.
Yeah. You should know it because I think their logo is a little dog.
Oh, is it like a Scotty dog? I've seen that
dog.
before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, the quality of the art, it's just fantastic. It's really worth checking out. It's got
I'm definitely going to
go. Plenty of stars in plenty of places where I've seen it reviewed by real art journalists rather than just blaggers like me. So,
no. You're real. You're the
Rich is on the street.
Yeah, you're the realest person we know.
Because you're living in a bunker.
Yeah, that's true. We live in our sex bunker.
Yeah. What?
There's no anniversary attached to it though, is it? I'm right in thinking it's not like.
No, it's not. It's not a particular. I mean, it's not themed around Dennis the Menace, for instance. It's not aimed at a particular.
Just generally the Beano, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just generally the Beano, yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, where else have you been on your travels?
Where else have I been? I went to the Cartoon Museum the other evening. Went for an exhibition, or sort of an exhibition.
This is the V for Vendetta thing, yeah.
No, not V Vendetta. Which I couldn't go to this week. I was trying to go to the V for Vendetta, which actually has been extended for a fortnight. It was due to close today, as we record on the Sunday.
I'm so lazy. It's only around the corner from Gosh, and I'm in there every week. I haven't bothered to go in. I must go and see it as well. It's
been extended by a fortnight, so it runs to the middle of November now. So so you still got 2 weeks. But you're right. They did have an event with David Lloyd this week, and all sorts of stuff. But I couldn't go to that. But I had been the week before, where they had a creator called Sidney Jordan, who created Jeff Hawke, which was a newspaper strip that ran in the Express.
I've got the collection of that. I think it's got the one with the bowling cover on it.
Yeah, so Titan Books back in the when they used to put out those sort of black and white dread reprints. When they were the only reprints that you could get. They put out 2 volumes then, both with Bolland covers. So I think Bolland worked on the strip a little bit, and must still be a big fan because he did the cover for that Masters of British Comic Art book by David Roach.
Yes, one we talked about. Yeah.
The one we talked about, and on that there is one of the sort of the Kolvorok, sort of the alien, and he's on the front of that. So I think Bolland is a big Jeff Hawke fan.
Nice.
So it was, it's classic sort of newspaper strip, sort of 3 panels. You've got to finish up yesterday's story and move the story on a bit and leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger, which in 3 panels is crazy talk. But it's really intelligent science fiction story set, like I said, from the 50s. But it ran for let's say about 30 years. So round and round and round. And they recently put out the publishers, the Book Palace, who put out that sort of quarterly magazine, Illustrators, which features all sorts of different illustrators. But they've also done these sort of special sort of one-off volumes dedicated to a particular theme. So, they've done one about war comics. They've done sort of Spanish artists.
Are they based in Crystal Palace, Rich? Is that them?
It is them. Yeah.
They used to have a couple of bookshops there, didn't they? For a while?
You did used to be able to go in, but you haven't been able to go in for a long time. A big sort of warehouse I remember going into once as well, and comics, just thousands and thousands of comics piled up, and they're sort of like, what do you want to buy? And you're like, oh my god, I've never seen so many comics in my entire life, and you sort of I'll have that one, please. But they recently put out a book. It's the biggest book they've put out recently. Actually, I haven't got it next to me, but it's about 160 pages, and it's a sort of a double header of Sidney Jordan's work and Jim Holdaway, who's probably best known for his sort of work on Modesty Blaze.
Nice.
Very dynamic style, and just the detail on the hatching is just incredible. But
I saw his stuff believe it or not, in Stockholm. There is a shop that sells his work and has a little exhibit space as well, and sells loads of Modesty Blaze stuff there. And I saw some of his original art there. He's great. But Sidney Jordan is still alive. I mean, he's 90-ish, right? Okay,
93 or something, and basically a collector had basically filled. When you go into the Cartoon Museum, on the left when you go in is sort of where they have the space where the kids do the workshops with Steve Marchant. Unlike the rest of it, which is got stuff up on the walls, there's this sort of space there, which they often sort of use as the sort of cloakroom and place to get a glass of wine if you go out for an event at the Cartoon Museum. But they turned that. They basically had, I think it was 178 of these newspaper strips there, sort of up in not frames, but sort of but presented. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so the room, just completely full of original art, from the early days of strip, and had other material that Sidney had worked on for projects that hadn't come off, for sort of a comic that the Daily Express wanted to produce at one point, for an annual strip, things that never been published. Sidney had done the work on them, but they just got cancelled at the last minute, and therefore they just sort of he's like, all right, I got paid for that, I'll put it away, sort of thing. And until this book came out, in which features these strips, they'd never been seen before, and so it was sort of a bit of a one-off opportunity to see that art. And Steve Marchant had got fished out from sort of the Cartoon Museum's archive some of Sidney's really early work from the early 50s that he'd done, that Sidney hadn't seen for, probably since it was done, which had come from sort of the art agency that had sort of commissioned it must have closed down, and they got flogged off, and they bought a job lot at auction, and it was
okay.
So that was really interesting to see, and again, it's on Down the Tubes. You can read my my
£5, please, John. And then, of course, the other thing you've done, Rich, is you're the only person we've had on who went to the lakes this year. So
I did go to that, but in between writing up reviews for John on Down the Tubes, he also
downthetubes.net.
Yeah, downthetubes.net. Yeah. He also got me a ticket to go to the lakes. So yes, I've never been to the Lakes Festival before, so it's my first time there. So I can't tell you if it was bigger or smaller than previous years, although I understand it was.
How did you find it, man? Because it's an interesting space they've got there, isn't it? Yeah. I've only been once, but yeah. Right. How did you find it?
Have you not read my review on downthetubes.net?
Oh, is it on downthetubes.net? Is it on there?
Dear God.
How did you find it, dude? As a punter, you went as a punter, I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah. So I went as a punter. So Kendal itself is a really nice, interesting sort of town just on the edge of the Lake District. I mean, it's got like 2 museums, a castle, got a high street full of independent shops. It's got an art gallery.
Did you get into that? Did you get into the Oxfam that had all the cheap comics in it?
I did get it. I sent you some photos from the Oxfam with it. Yeah, somebody knows their onions in the Oxfam in Kendal because
they do, don't they? Yeah.
It's sort of on the way to the Brewery Arts Centre. I already had the huge bag because I was like, I'm going to sit on a train for 3.5 hours on the way up there. Oh, and 3.5 hours on the way back. Oh, I can read a lot of comics. So I sort of taken a stash of stuff to read with me. And then after about 10 minutes of walking through Kendal, I get to the Kendal Oxfam shop, and somebody, like I say, they have saved up their stock all year. To get it out on display this weekend. And I was like, oh, Tony, you should be here. There's all this.
I remember seeing they had, when I was there a couple of years ago, they had the original run. Apart from Giant Size, they had all the Uncanny X-Men, like all from the start of it through to about 130, 140, something like that. They had a load of Len Wein Hulks. And you sent me some pictures of some Master of Kung Fu's they had there, didn't
I did, yeah. A lot of Master of Kung Fu. I saw them and thought of you, I have to say.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So then it was like, oh my gosh, to buy some comics on the way. I haven't even arrived. I haven't even put my bag down and I'm buying comics. And there was, so having said, I think it was smaller than in previous years. There was still more. There was still not too much. There was still more than enough. To fill my time. I can't imagine I'd ever cope with Thought Bubble. Because hundreds of people there. But so I went to they do on the Friday night, they're sort of having a sort of opening event, and they do what they call like a balloon debate. So it's like you have 8 people sort of pleading the case for their particular comics character, and then the audience vote, and then you slowly throw out, whoever gets the least votes gets thrown out, and then somebody else, and then you sort of go around again and make another case for why you should keep your character in. So like Mark Jackson was there, and he was making the case for Gru, being the greatest comics character ever. And Kate Charlesworth was there for Auntie Studs, a sort of iconic sort of a character from a comic strips, and because it was sort of a tie-up with NTS Fest in the US. There was a couple of US guests who were sort of dialing in and making their case. And Martin Rowson, who's a political cartoonist.
Yeah, I like his stuff. Yeah, I met him at that. I met him at the NCS Festival actually. Yeah, he's a super nice guy. Yeah, really is.
Yeah. So and he in the end he won. And on the strength of his presentation and his and his character. But I think it came down to Asterix, and who Martin wasn't voting for. And who did Martin vote for? In the end, I can't remember now. Actually, having said that, and he won enough hearts and minds to get people to vote.
He's a pretty funny dude, actually. Isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely helping him out. He did Crazy Cat.
Oh, okay.
Talking about newspaper strips. So Crazy Cat, George Herriman's iconic, strange newspaper strip about a love triangle between a mouse, a cat, and Officer Pup, which I remember reading in The Guardian.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, I've just read a parody of that, haven't I? I told you boys about it earlier.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then there were talks on the Saturday. So I went to see Jacob and Sean Phillips. Since I didn't go to breakfast with them recently, unlike Tony, I didn't.
That was an accident.
So they were interviewed by Julie Tate, who's sort of the organizer. So some of that was a bit of chat, and then they got them up on a couple of Cintiqs, and they were doing some drawing, and that was they enjoyed that. And then I went to the Viz talk. Which was really funny. So that was really good, and it was it was like in a lecture hall theatre sort of style. There was plenty of room, so if you were sort of worried about wearing masks and things, there was enough room that you could sort of sit on your own. It wasn't sort of crammed in, so that felt quite good. And they had the Comics Clock Tower as well, which is sort of where people are selling stuff, and where they do signings. So they got a space there, so Charlie Adlard signed a book for me. It was I went and I thought, I've got half an hour between sort of talks. I'll just pop along to Clock Town, just see what it's like. And there was like 2 people in the queue, to see Charlie Adlard, and I was like, oh, I think I might get more than a signature here. And he was quite happy, doodling away, for this very short queue of people. So I was like, wow, this is. You go to other things, the queue will be out the door for people wanting a zombie picture. So, and there was a Martin Rowson, and had a big exhibition as well in this sort of art gallery as well. So I went to that. I went to Dave McKean was there talking about his new book, Raptor.
Yeah, I missed that. I love that book, man. That's an amazing book. Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
And it's just, I mean, he was talking about that, but he had this sort of his laptop with his sort of, I should, show you some other stuff I'm doing as well. So he sort of goes along. He's like, here's a drawing I'm doing about, for the Folio Society, about Gormenghast. They said, they wanted me to do 24, we sign the contract to do 24 drawings for Gormenghast. Okay. But then I accidentally did 150. And it was, oh my God, it's just, it just sort of live and breathe, creativity and that sort of drive, just always be.
Oh man.
So he was, he was trying to sort of flick through 150 drawings about Gormenghast. Oh my God, he's well, I got this project as well. I've got this thing going on over here, and it's just, like an hour. He was talking to Paul Gravett, and it's like, you could have sat there all day going through his laptop, going, what's that? What's that one for?
Oh God, yeah. Just, we need to have a heist where we steal his laptop. I think.
Yeah. It'll be so beautiful. And he got really into bird watching. I think he lives quite near a sort of nature reserve, and he's even just sort of photos he'd taken of the local birds, and were lovely. So yes, that was really interesting. And then
because when I read Raptor, the same literally, I put it down. Had another look through it, and then I immediately messaged Chloe from Thought Bubble saying, right, please book Dave McKean now.
Yeah.
Because this is one of my, I think maybe my book of the year. I think everyone's going to go nuts for it. And she says, oh no, we haven't booked him like that. But then he was the only one because I cancelled the late. So I sort of I sort of wavered when I saw he was going to be there. But yeah, I wish I'd seen him there. I have seen him speak before, but that would have been nice.
Yeah. So that was it was good. And then they had stuff at the clock tower as well. So I saw that Martin Simmons bought his book of sort of sketches and things that
nice.
he'd produced for that. Who else there? Kev Sutherland. A Beano artist. Again, I bought a couple of his comics that he'd produced. Gustavo was there.
Yeah.
I bought a page of art from him.
Yeah, that's an investment. I've got a page framed in front of me from him. That's an investment, folks. I think with his art. Yeah,
it was so nice. I'd seen it on his shop, on his big cartel for such a long time, and I messaged, and it was always there. And I messaged him just before to say, I'm just wondering, were you thinking of bringing any art? And he was messaging me back, saying, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to bring it. I said, hey, what about this page? Oh yeah, I'm bringing that page. So I was like, okay, I just maybe put that to one side, and I promise to come and look at it quite soon. So, so yeah, and that was from Scrawl. So it's a lovely sort of full.
Okay, nice. That's a colour one, is it? I'm guessing.
In colour, yeah, in colour. And that was the first. Actually, this is the first thing that Scrawl as a magazine had been to, because it feels like it came out a long time ago.
Wow, yeah.
So it's not
because it was being created at the previous one, wasn't it? It was the live one.
Yeah.
I think they all shared a house, didn't they, on that one? Yeah,
I think that's right. So and that sort of that ability to sort of bump into people or to see people where you go, is really nice. Like you sort of there Brian Talbot's just walked past me, sort of thing. And,
it's a friendly con like that, isn't it? Because there's only a few pubs they'll go to, and. You see Nicky and Dean at all, or?
I did. Yeah,
cool.
They told me that John. It was on the Saturday night. They said that John had tickled Nicky. I don't know what had inspired that, but yes, I did. You won't thank me for reporting that. You won't read that story on downthetubes.net. I tell you. But,
that's in the Daily Mail. That's Mail Online. That one. Yeah.
But yes, I did meet Ian and Nicky, who I'd never met before. So it was nice. And yeah, I mean, somebody I had a sort of. I got in on a sort of press ticket. I had a lanyard on, so I could just sort of go into the events and things, which was great. But it also meant sometimes like in the pub or something, someone would say, oh, they recognise you've got a lanyard on. So, are you here for the festival? Oh, it's a really good weekend when it's on, and it's really, it's I really like it, sort of thing. So, sort of, civilians, as it were, obviously, were into it and were keen. So that was good. And yeah, like I say, just that sort of the ability to sort of. Because it's not all in one, it's not all on a big warehouse on the edge of town. It's dotted around town a bit, so there is a bit of going hither and thither, and there are Page 45 do signings as well in the clock tower. So they had
so they have. When I was there before, they had like a whole room in there. Is that right?
Yeah, they've got like a whole room, and they've got several tables, just covered in books, and then they'll be doing signings as well. And it was still like on the Saturday, it was still like by the time I'd done all the things I wanted to do, I still had I'd still missed a couple of signings. I'd still not quite been able to do everything I wanted to do, which I think is a good thing. If there's sort of too much to do, that's what you want, because
So you stayed overnight, did you, Rich? Or
yeah, I stayed over. There's a youth hostel right by the Brewery Arts Centre.
you're such a hipster, aren't you?
Honestly, I got in there, and I sort of drew the curtains, and I could see John Freeman, not staring back at me out the window, but he was
naked.
Oh my God,
was he naked?
He was fully clothed. On that first day, on the Friday, it was so hot. I was sat in the pub garden, and it was just baking.
Oh, he's getting this in early, lads. So later on, when we hear stories of Rich Sheaf naked in Pendle, but it was really hot. Yeah,
so hot. So, and then John did a talk with David Roach on the Sunday morning. So that was talking about that was not in person. David dialed in from home. So that was talking about David's work. The work he'd done for US Comics, work that he'd done for British Comics. And actually, I hadn't thought about it, but he said he's colourblind.
I never knew that. Okay.
And that's why if you see he works in black and white, and you think, oh yeah, well yeah, if his sort of pencil drawings that he does is the sort of still lifes that he does are just incredible, and they are in black and white. It's like, oh okay, that suddenly makes a lot more sense. But it was also pulling on the work that he's done for Rebellion and the books he's written. So he's been working on the Brian Boland Apex edition, which is
lovely,
like these big, like these sort of US style. I can't even think how big, but they're really, really big volumes that you see in Forbidden Planet, where it's
like the artist editions. The artist edition,
this art is reproduced 1-to-1. It's not. We've not reduced it down. That's
getting some great word of mouth. That, and I have to say, having bought his Master of British art, and then also the Master of Spanish art thing he did as well, which is apparently it costs you a few quid to find a copy of that now. And anything by him I would buy now. He's a really interesting bloke around there. I would say it never occurred to me. I didn't realise that he was colourblind, but it occurs to me now that if you're colourblind and you're going to be into art, comic art's probably a good idea, isn't it? Because you get most of it is sort of black and white, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've had, so we're talking about the sort of work he's done for the last couple of years on this Brian Boland book, which is going to come out reasonably soon. But they also teased the front cover for the next volume in the series, which I have now seen mentioned online, which is going to be a Mick McMahon book.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah, he's asking for art around that, isn't he? He's trying to track down a few pages for that, isn't he, David Roach? Saw today. Yeah. So the Sky Chariot stuff.
Sky Chariots stuff. So sadly, the Mick McMahon work I recently discovered in Marvel UK's Rugrats comics will probably not make the cut. But it had to be discovered. I knew it was out there, and I had to collect that comic till I found it, and I did eventually find it. So.
I love that you do that. It's great. I love when you see Rich's blog, and it's I found this issue of My Horse Weekly. Carlos Esquire is in this issue. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that stuff. Yeah. Love finding that stuff. So so it was an interesting sort of chat to finish up. So
what's the socials like? Do you get trashed or what? Embarrass yourself? Any stories? Anyone?
No, not so much. I mean, partly. I mean, there were. I know there's like the speakeasy to go to in town, but I definitely. I think the Scroll Lords have been out, let's say, on the Saturday night, because I'd seen Gustavo on the Saturday and I bought his art, and he was like, try and catch up later. And then I hadn't caught up with him, and I sent him a message saying, I'm going to go to breakfast at this place when it opens, sort of thing. If you want to meet up, have a bit of breakfast, see you there, sort of thing. And he didn't reply back. And I thought, that's fine, it's not a problem. And then eventually I think he opened about 9 o'clock or something. And then I got a message about 10 to 9 from him saying, hombre, I've just opened my eyes. And it's like, I'm not going back.
The Scroll Lords, those filthy animals.
Yeah. So I wasn't comfy about the idea of going to sort of small enclosed speakeasy style spaces, because that's not quite so. But like on the Friday night, I went drinking, with John Freeman and John McShane, who I'd never met before. So but that was sort of sitting, in a pub, in a slightly social distance sort of way. But I'd be that. But that was all right. But actually, sort of, going, to a smaller, more enclosed speakeasy sort of thing. I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And
Okay.
You know, I mean,
Was
were
it a sex thing or?
I can't possibly
Yes.
tell you, but
Yeah.
in
Non
you'll let you know.
secrecy. Yeah. Loxon will
so,
tell me.
And you know, and you're still, you know, you're still wearing masks for, like, when you're in the clock tower for things, when you're
Yeah.
at the, you know, in the talks and things. You know, if you want to, nobody's, you know, compelling you, and it is, you know, and it is a good thing, you know, but it is still, you know, boring in inverted commas, and you're thinking this is not quite, you know, we're not quite there yet. So yeah,
I
so
get you.
I, you know.
What about footfall, man? What was your assumption? Busy or not? Or
So I suppose for the clock tower they had, so they had the sort of page 45 room, which always had, you know, loads of books, and you could have, you know, spent all day and all your money in there buying stuff, and they typically, you know, because they got signings in there, so that always seemed quite busy. And then there was the main room, which has got a hall and sort of a stage, so there were folk, so that was where, like, Charlie Adlard and people were doing signings in there, and that had a lot of tables, so that always felt quite busy. And I was very impressed to see at one point there's like a tea lady came past, you know, this huge sort of trolley, you know, straight out like a 70s sort of, you know, big.
well, like, an old school carry on tea lady. I like that sort of thing.
Yeah. And she saw it a lanyard on. She tried to sort of thrust tea at me, and I said, "Oh, you must have some tea." No, I don't want it.
Did
you
end up in a night of passion with her, or?
Yeah. I don't drink tea.
See, no good.
And then there was a smaller room downstairs, which is where I saw Kev Sutherland, and that felt like there wasn't a lot of, you know, that felt there was quite a lot of space in there, because there were just tables sort of around the edge and nothing in the middle. And so I think that bit felt, on the couple of occasions I was in there was just more space, and not loads of people in there, so that always felt a bit. But, you know, Kev seemed to think, you know, he was doing all right. You know, I mean, he's king of the patter, Kev. You have to, you know.
He's an enthusiastic guy, isn't he?
Yeah. So, you know, he's so, no, I think he was okay. But yeah. So no, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I would go back. And like I said, I like the sort of the, you know, wandering around town, you know, element of it, and being able to see people, like, you know, I kept seeing Mark Jackson in cafes and things, and, you know, which is quite nice.
Did it rain? It only ever rains when I go there.
It definitely, on the Saturday it was a bit rainy on the morning,
and
then stopped raining, and then on the Sunday it was just raining all day. Yeah. So then I was like, oh yeah, this is it. And then I was trying to drag this bag of stuff, you know, it was extra comics and things I bought, as well as, it was almost impossible to move this bag. Just lug it all the way to the station. I was just dying at the end. But anyway, so I mean, I was super easy to get to from London. You know, it's like 3.5 hours, and then one change right at the end. You know, you get on some little branch line for 2 minutes and then get off. And so very easy to do. I think there's lots of accommodation options. You know, if you want to stay in the sort of the big Premier Inn or something where a lot of people
I stayed in, I think it's called the Bridge Hotel or something like that, so it's at the bottom of the hill. It's quite a nice hotel. Yeah, it's all right. And, you know, and I love the way they sort of take over the town. You know, you could sort of, like, I walked past a chip shop at one point, and they had like a display in the window of, you know, particular comic things.
What, a chip shop? Blimey.
Yeah, they have the comic trail, don't they? There's loads of it takes over nearly all the shops, I think.
Loads of shops. So, and then one I was like, suddenly this is, hang on, this is Nicky's work here, and this went that. You know, so really, you know, really try and engage with the town, and I think, you know, that's one of the ways to do it, is to get shops, you know, to try and get you either to look at the shop, and then, you know, go in or whatever. But I really enjoyed it, and I imagine, you know, if it was, you know, bigger next year, you know, let's say in a, you know, less COVID, you know, worried world, then it was really, you know, like I said, there were plenty of talks to go to this year. So, you know, if you need more stuff and even more people, I mean, like I say, I don't know how I'd cope with Thought Bubble. You know,
wasn't the dude from page 45? I forget his name. Sorry,
Steve Holland.
Yeah, I should know. I've been for a meal with him and everything, but he's the comics laureate at the moment. Did he do anything there for that?
He is, and not that I saw.
Right, okay.
I think he might have done stuff. I mean, it sort of opens on the Friday night, and I got up there sort of Friday lunchtime-ish. But actually, I think all the guests are actually invited from the Thursday night. Right. They have a big meal on the Thursday night, like in the town hall. So it's sort of time where it's, you know, it's just together, so they can have a bit of a sort of a social time together, you know.
I remember I chatted to him, because he's got his shop is only about 100 yards from where Nottingham Comic Con normally is. And I went in and had a chat with him and said to him, "Oh, why aren't you doing Nottingham Comic Con?" And he says, "I'm signed exclusively to the Lakes. In other words, that's the only convention I can do because I've signed an exclusive thing." Which I wonder how that works with his Comics Laureate stuff. It'd be interesting. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, they take over that room. There's he's got piles of books. I mean, in the main Brewery Arts Centre, like Waterstones had taken over a room there when the room was doing the signing. So again, I even went in the Waterstones in Kendal at one point, and basically the graphic novel section just had a big sign saying all our graphic novels are in the Brewery Arts Centre.
They did that at Meanwhile as well, actually. They had a stall at Meanwhile next to us, actually, funny enough. Okay.
So loads of signings, opportunities to meet people, to bump into people in the street as well. Not because I appreciate if you want to try and have a chat with someone and they're stood behind a table, I always feel slightly guilty about it because I think, well, actually, I've turned up, I've bought the 3 things I want to buy off you, and now in the best way in the world, you should be trying to sell this stuff to somebody else. And actually, if I'm stood here trying to occupy your stall for 10 minutes, I'm always thinking, you're looking at me thinking, either you've not bought anything or you've already bought it.
Some people don't think like you, Rich.
Yeah, you're one of those few people with social ability, Rich. Some people don't fucking understand that concept at all. Yeah.
So it's good to be able to have that sort of meet people not in that space and be able to, just stop and chat. So,
and you must be, after all of that, you must be putting your feet up. You must be. Never mind. One comics event is enough to knock me on my arse.
God, yeah, man.
Are you doing Thought Bubble, Rich? Or?
No, I'm not. No, my weekend away was to go to the lakes, so that was my.
All right.
Yeah, so I was going to do that. Yeah, but I'm interested in your, so when I was going to the lakes, I was like, okay, I want to go and see. I want to go to that table, and that table. But if there were like 400 people, like how do you sort of? I mean, I know
it's a lot.
Behind the table as well.
Go on the website and just make a little shopping list. I'm making a sort of short list, and as always, I'm sort of trying to look at new artists and stuff and picking out things.
I'm going to sit behind the table and be sad. That's my plan.
Yeah.
I like there's photos at the MCM and they had those booths up with the walls on either side.
I really like that. Yeah.
I really like that. I don't know if they're going to be doing that or not.
No, they won't.
No.
Are they going to be spaced out, the tables, a bit more?
We do not know, but we will of course let you people know.
But you kind of live on top of people at cons, don't you? Like normally.
Yeah. So we will be giving you the rundown with our thought. We will, of course, be doing some roving interviews, etc. over that weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend.
If we'll all be on the table, how are we going to be social distance? We can't be.
Yeah, well,
we're you two are sharing a room. You're going to be in each other.
Only not just the room.
Yeah. You should be sharing the dead hooker as well.
And now Rich is thinking, I'm glad I'm not going.
Rich is trying to book a ticket.
Yeah.
What was it that put me off? Yeah.
Where are you staying?
I would be. I would be interested in going, but it's it's definitely a weekend event.
I think if you're going to choose a year, this may be, all due respect, skip this year because there's once we get past this shit thing that's going on, it might be the guests might be a bit bigger and stuff. I think.
The thing is, I don't give a fuck about the guests though.
I do. Fucking hell, I do.
I actually don't. I don't. I rarely go to see them, and I'm normally heading around to all the indie table. I don't know. That's just what I do. I know
come on, that's not true. Who's that dude I introduced you to?
Dave Johnson. He was the one person that I had. Yeah, but the rest, other than that, the rest of the time, I'm sort of wandering around and doing shopping and stuff. When I should be at my table.
In, what do you call it? The small press this year and seeing you guys.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm going to see you guys. I'm not fucking fussed about anything else anymore. Yeah.
So, yes, it sounds like there's loads of stuff still happening, Rich. So we'll look forward to more of your up-to-date sort of travels and stuff when you do get out again. And of course, your blog just doesn't stop anyway. I mean, we said last time, but you
still keep going, Rich. Still every day.
When this comes out, we'll have had post 1,939.
Oh, that's there.
Bloody hell! And where do people?
2,000 going to be? Do you know what it's going to be?
Yeah.
No, I did think I should. I mean,
yes,
it is normally one.
You need to do something special for it. Yes, you do.
one post a day, and then very occasionally, an extra post. But yeah, it did occur to me I should sort of think, oh, that's in about 2 months time or 2 months time. Okay, that's maybe about the end of the year. So yeah, maybe I should try and.
Did My Pony have a 2000th issue? You could combine it, couldn't you?
something lasted 2,000 issues. Yeah, I'll have to have a think. But yeah, it does roll relentlessly on and on and on forever.
And where can people find it?
They can find it you can find it on www.boysadventurecomics.blogspot.com.
Top work,
probably
man.
Follow me on Twitter at Rich and Sheaf, and then you can probably see me in your feed about 6:45 each morning.
Always like to see
chilling
that.
away, either there or on Comics UK, on Reddit, on Facebook.
He's everywhere. He gets everywhere.
But you're not heavy-handed around it, dude.
No.
I like it. I seize it and I click on it, and that's nice. And you don't like barrage people with it, do you?
No. I know. I try not to, and it's definitely like the things like Reddit where you can post a link to the actual thing rather than say, I know it's on Facebook, and you have to go via my Twitter feed to look at it because Facebook hates me. It's just I always.
Oh, you still having that problem, are you?
Oh yeah. So that's still that problem, but I'm ploughing on regardless, just to spite them now. So
Facebook, man.
Yeah. Although we do have a group on there, so can't hate them too much. Although we hate everything on this show apart from comics. so go and check out it. Of course, there will be a link in the show notes, etc. And he's sticking with us for the rest of the show, so stay tuned.
Yes.
Right now he's got to go away and figure out what he's going to recommend at the end of the show. But before then, do we have any shout outs this week, James?
Yes, I thought I'd give a shout out to everyone who's taken part in the Inktober on our Slack channel. And there's some bloody hell. Every day's been a cracker on this. So I wrote a little list of the people who've thanks guys for taking part. So it's Matt Bunce, Dan Harris, Zach Cobb. How much improved is Zach's work? I think it's really improving, man. I really do like seeing his art improve like that. Yeah, Jason Garrettley, which is currently a screensaver on my phone, the lock screen. Bert Ditchkuis, I don't know how you say, sorry, Bert. Ian M, Simon Russell, R. John Benales. How good is he? Bloody hell!
Oh yeah,
he's really good.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cannon. So every day you see art from those folks, and it's just been a joy. I managed it twice. There you go. But yeah, really good. Can I also give a shout out to Andrew Hampel, who runs Hull and Bridlington Comic Con. He self admits as the odd TV star or TV celebrity and the odd table of Funkos at his events, but he is really trying to push the small press and comics element as he is a Comic Con. And he says for those events there's free tables for small press creators and small press publishers if you're interested.
There you go, man. Look,
there you go. That's not bad. How can you get better from that? So there's one in Hull and one in Bridlington. Go to hullcomiccon.com. You can find out all the details there and contact Andrew Hampel. He is in the Slack as well. If you want to have a chat to him in there, you can just speak to him about it. I'm seriously considering it. I was chatting to him about it in the week, but yeah. It's been a week of Kickstarters for me. So through my door, I've had one from, I've had The Penguin, I've had No Brainer 2, I've had Sugarcane Cyberpunk, and I've had Cat Food Comics. How good is that? And my wife hates me.
I got Rufus through as well. Rufus Marigold.
Oh, yeah, I did as well. Sorry, mate. I should have said that. Yeah, I got that as well. Yeah, bloody hell. I need to back off on the Kickstarters, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Cat Food Comics I got as well today.
Nice.
Yesterday. Yeah.
He did me a nice Atomic Hercules sketch. It was very nice. Yeah. I always say when these people say, what do you want me to draw? I say, your choice, man. Do what you fancy. And it was a cracker that came through. Yeah.
Thing about Kickstarters, you back a load and you think, oh shit, I better back off on these. And then all the fucking things start coming through, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you backed months ago.
Well, you hope they do. Yeah.
Yeah, not always.
Yeah. Have you got any shout-outs, Dan?
Yes. Dr. Crowe, Volume 1. It's got about 20 hours left to go. All I can say is, like, if you are a big fan of, like, Merrick the Elephant Man, this comic is very much in the same vein, and the quality level is as good. I really recommend it. They did a crossover issue about a year or so ago where the two characters were in the one title. And it was a great way for Merrick fans to kind of read about Dr. Crowe and vice versa. And I would recommend you check it out because that's an absolutely fantastic book. And the next one is an Indiegogo project from our friend Kevin Gunstone called Future Primitive, issue 1. Join us on a thrilling mythic adventure on the world of the Future Primitive. And that campaign might need a little bit of ACP love and affection to get it over the line.
Yeah.
But Kevin's done some absolutely fantastic comics in the past.
I tell you, Indiegogo really need an app. That's how I keep track of my Kickstarters. If there was an Indiegogo app, I would probably be interested in more. But I sort of lose track. I've backed a couple. I've sort of lost track of them, to be fair. Yeah.
I backed the Indiegogo one for Alterna for their full-page art thing. And I submitted the artwork and they rejected it because it was the wrong size. So I had to redo it. Bit embarrassing.
Oh, Dan.
Techie heads. They asked for the artwork, but they included the bleed and the trim. So I sent it along with the trim with the bleed on, like the bleed marks for the crops, and they rejected it because it was the wrong size. So they just basically wanted the artwork, the one size, which was like, okay, fair enough. And if you're not into that kind of stuff, that makes no sense to that little anecdote. But trust me, it was
there's
okay.
probably a lot of people that do.
Yeah, so you might be seeing an advert of mine pop up in an Alterna comic.
Nice work, man.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Good.
And just a final shout out to the good times that we all had at Orbital Comics.
Oh yeah.
I think obviously as a shop that is going away, but I think rather than dwell on anything else, I just there were some good people that worked there, and it was a great shop. I know it was your local for a long time, Tony, and like
they held my pull list. I put quite a few quid through that shop over the years.
Yeah.
We went to that Pat Mills talk there. I went to the life drawing classes.
I've met you there, Rich. Before, haven't I? We've been
We've been to loads of things there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Pat Mills, Steve McManus. All sorts of people.
Savage Pencil. I went to the Orbiting Pod 100th episode there. Yeah, quite a few things. God, loads of exhibitions.
I went
to Ranson. Loads of exhibitions.
Arthur Golden? No, that's his name. What's that guy, Michael Golden? Or was it Arthur Adams? One of did the talk there, and it was like, fuck me, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. So sad times, but
did you announce? So have they announced they closed, or have they just closed and we found out? I don't know how it's worked.
It seems to be filtering through the airwaves.
I don't think there's been an announcement, have they? But I think some.
I don't think that's any great surprise.
It's all but.
Yeah. But
they're still on Instagram, aren't they? They're still posting comics for sale on Instagram.
Yeah. I think you've replied to one, haven't you? You said you're still open.
I did. Yeah, I thought I was slightly enraged by it. I mean, is your shop still open? I mean, I went when I was passing the other day, and it wasn't quite. It was 5 to 12, and it was only open at 12, so I couldn't confirm that it was shut. But it still seems slightly.
Yeah.
They had an event in September with Savage Pencil.
They had an event a few weeks ago with Graham Humphrys, was it? Graham, is that his name?
Like, I'd have gone to that. Like, I'd have been quite happy to go to that, but I completely, I don't know where their social media present. Well, they're on Instagram, but all the rest of the stuff where I would normally expect to see that, I completely passed me by, and I was like, oh, I'd have happily gone to that. But,
that rent on that shop must have been fucking brutal.
Oh, imagine it's a big old shop as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sad times, but every time I sort of popped in there when I had a chance to, it was always sort of a go-to. I rarely get a chance to go to London much, but it was always a go-to whenever we did.
It's part of the triumvirate, wasn't it? Like Orbital and Forbidden Planet.
Yeah, I've never been.
We've also had, haven't you?
No, not yet.
Oh. Well, we used to have more. We had Comic Showcase in Charing Cross Road. We had Comicana, and before that, a place in Space in Yorkshire Street. There was so many shops around there you could buy comics in, and we're down to 2 now, are we? 2. Yeah. And 1 in Camden, 1 in Notting Hill.
Well, there you go.
It's a shame.
Slap in the face.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the shops that are selling comics are doing okay, and we love you.
Yeah.
That's all we know. And we love
yeah,
you.
my hundreds of pounds every week are now being poured into Gosh.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
So.
We love you so much, you lovely listeners, that we're going to recommend some stuff for you, as always. That's this part of the show now. And as always, the guest goes first. So, Rich, we've given you enough time. What would you like to recommend to our lovely listeners?
What would I like to recommend? I'm going to recommend Alan Clark, not the film director, the comics writer, who I used to have sort of comics sort of reference books, as a kid that he'd written. I'm going to say sort of from the early 80s, and he used to have sort of run Golden Fun, which is like a sort of a fanzine.
Oh, that's
again, sort of.
Yeah, I was into that for a while.
Came out from the sort of probably from the mid 70s up to probably the mid 80s. Probably focus on again sort of quite old British comics or pre-war British comics.
Yeah.
But since lockdown, I know everyone has had a lockdown project, but his lockdown project seems to be to write everything he knows about all comics and print and increasingly, I think he's published 6 books in the last 18 months. And these books are typically they're sort of A5 size. They're probably not a very big print run. He sells them on eBay, and he lives in Italy. He sells them on eBay. But the latest one he put out, he's got 2 books at the moment, and they are probably quite niche. One is about Ali Sloper, who was sort of
I saw this one. Yeah.
preeminent sort of Victorian comic character of his day, and it is. It's like I say, it's A5 size, but it's full color. There's a lot of black and white illustrations because that's just the world of printing at the time. But 260 pages, plenty of color illustrations, and it's just packed with you can feel this man sort of distilling all his knowledge that he's gained over 30 or 40 years of collecting onto the page. It's just sort of I love reading a book where you can really feel that love and that passion and that knowledge. Every there isn't a sort of a spare sort of paragraph where he's just sort of wandering around the topic a bit. He's like, no, I've got to tell you this. I've got to tell you this. And
yeah, that's what makes the difference, man. The only time I ever read an Ali Sloper comic is when Paul Gravett passed round one in cellophane at a comic event, and I've never read one, but I'd read that book. Do you know what I mean? Because that, I think you're right. Yeah,
exactly. There's pages where it goes, this series. I think one of them is it's not quite a spin-off, but he says, this series is 21 issues. And the British Library haven't got a complete set, and nobody's got a complete set. But here are what all 21 issues look like. And you think, oh my God, this is either you collected these 21 issues, or you've got 14, and somebody else has got 2, and somebody else has got 3, and between you all, you draw all that together to say, this is it. This is the thing. And some of the standard illustration, on those front pages is amazing. So he's put out half a dozen books in the last 18 months.
What are the other subjects on at all?
So one is I think the first one he did was photographs and images of artists, writers, and editors of 19th and 20th century British comic papers.
Right.
So
nice.
it's sort of punchy. But it is little sort of pen portraits of these artists. These
big on TikTok, that I hear.
Incredibly rare, images of who they are, what they look like. So incredible sort of knowledge that there are a diminishing number of people I'm well aware of, who are interested in pre-war British comics, and it feels like this is sort of right. I've just got to get this all done, because there isn't going to be another generation of people who are going to go, I tell you what, I must spend 30 years collecting Ali Sloper comics.
You're right, man. The old corporate memory, that's what they call it, don't they? That's disappearing. Yeah. I'm gonna finally buy a few of these. I know you've mentioned to me before, but I'm going to go in for a couple.
So he's written one on that, one on. So one is interesting. It's a sort of a memoir, not his memoir, but as a comic artist, Roy Wilson, who is just a sort of preeminent sort of humour artist. If you Google sort of stories or comics like Happy Days, there are these sort of funny animals, and it's just there's so much life and so much happening on this one image, and this is so he's written. So that was this. Roy Wilson wrote this memoir, which then has ended up in the hands of this guy, and he's published that. So that's interesting. Look at that. Edwardian comic papers. So again, this is the era we're talking, and all sorts, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages on, an enormous range of titles. Ali Sloper, a whole book about the Amalgamated Press, the Fun Factory of Farringdon Street. It's just, and it says 250, 260 pages, and there are a lot of images, but there's a shed load of words in these as well. The actual, A, you have to remember all this, you have to collect all this stuff. B, you have to remember it all, and then C, you then have to write it all down. I mean, it's just incredible. Anyway, so they are available on eBay, but it sort of seems like once he sells them, that's it. They're not getting relisted, so you have to sort of pay attention. But anyway, it's called Boris 9999 494. So Boris 9999 494 on eBay, or if you search probably Ali Sloper. There's a couple of books there at the moment. So
I'll tell you what, there's a book in Your eBay History, Rich. That's the book I'd like to read. The various fucking mental things you buy.
There is definitely a bit of that. Yeah, my horse comic is definitely. I did buy another copy of my horse comic recently.
Lovely. That's what we need more on this show.
We've all got gaps in our collection that need filling, and
fuck Micronauts. Just get on.
If you want to work out
British Airways comic from 1972, Rich has got it.
I love a British Airways comic from 1972. If you want to work out which issues of Mick McMahon worked in on Rugrats, at some point you have to buy the bullet and buy those damn things. So as I have done. So anyway,
you can't look that shit up on the internet, can you? You got to actually physically.
No, you can't look at it. It doesn't exist on the internet. You have to go away and find it. So a few. Keep on filling a few gaps in.
Good man.
We'll plug on.
We're lucky to have you, Rich. You know that.
Who wants to go next?
I got 2, so shall I bookend?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure, okay.
So my first one is the Santos Sisters issue 1. It's a giant-sized issue. It's by American Nature Comics, and it's a US Comics format, 56 pages, only $5. I thought it was pretty good. And this, funny you should mention Alterna, Dan. This has got that same quality paper, so it's like newsprint, nice and light. Yeah. Written and drawn by Fake and Greg Petrie, they're people. Writers Mark Koprianoff, Dave Landsberger and Graham Smith. It was Mark who sent me this very kindly. I have to say, this is one of the most fun I've had in a small press comic for a long time. It works off I sent you a couple of the images, didn't I, as I was reading it yesterday. It works off an Archie style. It looks like faux Archie. Even the colouring and the cover looks like what you would get on Archie comics have always looked the same, and they, let's face it, in most ways. The titular Santos sisters live in a flat together. They're always having a go at each other, ragging on each other about who they're going out with. One of them's going out with 2 dudes, and the other sister's giving her a hard time about it. What outfits they might be wearing at the Halloween party, and what to do and who's going and who's getting what at the shopping. But they also wear magical medallions that transform them into superheroes who work for the alien Madame Sosostris. I don't know how you say that. And this is basically a collection of little short stories, little punchy, funny, quirky short stories about them and the cast of characters that they surround. And at no point do they swerve from that Archie style. It's always done in that sort of style, which just makes it even more hilarious because it does have an adult element to it. The first short story has them fighting an army of sci-fi soldiers and at the same time bickering about why one of them, as I say, is dating 2 men at the same time. All the while they're shooting soldiers like through the skulls and stuff like that, which is funny. Another story features the series. They enjoy watching. 2 of them enjoy. One of the girls and her boyfriend enjoy watching a TV series called Boozy Bees. And to me, it's a little bit of a commentary on how adults watch these sort of kiddie things on television, And it's about a male and female bee who get heavily on the lash and then get off with each other at the end of it, each episode. And they love this. Another one, they fight a guy called Scope, who's a sort of super villain. He's just got out of prison and he's trying to steal a sex robot, which is just pretty. Is that the one I sent you? I think I sent you that one, didn't I? And it's let me just read the last panel to you. So, I'm amazed that your company is able to replicate a person just from a strand of hair. And he says, gosh, no, we do offer many points of articulation, but we cannot clone someone. And then the final scientist says, I spent my whole shift sewing pubes onto silicon lady holes today. Genius. In keeping with the current season, one of them, they go to a Halloween party, and another, they investigate something called a snow scrotch. Do you know what that is?
No idea.
Rich, do you know what a snow scrotch is?
No.
It's a Sasquatch, but it's a creature in the shape of a cock and balls. Yeah, as we all know, really. If you're in the States, you can get this from the website is called fuckaroundandfindout.bigcartel.com.
That's a fucking great name.
Yeah, fuckaroundandfindout.bigcartel.com, or contact Cram Backward. I've read that out loud and I realised what it is. CRAM Backward, Cram Backward on Instagram. I'm not sure if they shipped to the UK, as these got sent to us, but they got sent to Falpy, who said to give to me, sort of thing, because Falpy was chatting to him on the Gutter Boys Discord. And do you want to know the good news?
Go for it.
Not good news for you, Rich, I'm afraid, but he sent me 3 copies, so I got a copy for each of you when I see you at Thought Bubble. So thanks for that, dude. It's very kind of you. But yeah, genuinely smile all over my face during this. It's been a weekend of reading very funny comics. I'd like also to give a shout out to the comic book Holocaust by Johnny Ryan, which is so outrageous. I'm not going to recommend it here, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Buy a copy. There you go. That's my first one.
A couple of things, and it's like bloody hell. That's challenging.
It's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Dan, what would you like to recommend?
I've read. Tony got me. I think it was for my birthday this year. I
think it was, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, the Eternals, Jack Kirby, the complete collection.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
And quite timely. I had this on the my read pile, and I popped this out, and. I'd never read any Eternals before. I was completely kind of ignorant about it, if I'm honest. And after reading like 24 pages, I thought, why have they chosen to make a film out of this? It's fucking... I'd maybe deem it unfilmable. It's one of those things, it's a story that can only, for me, exist in a comic.
It can almost only live in Kirby's artwork, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how you would even begin to translate this into... any other medium. It's just it is what it is. Like, it's a Kirby comic, and it's fucking
I love that
nuts.
series, mate. The annual is the first one I got, and then I worked my way back through and bought the issues, and that annual still to this day is one of my favourite pieces of Kirby comics. I absolutely love it. Yeah,
it's interesting when they tell the stories about how they've been on Earth, and then they point out like which one of them was around when like the flood and Noah. And, point out the Ark and how they've been throughout humanity and like mankind's like past and history through the years, and how they're sort of like key players in various timelines, and it's just an absolute fucking nutty Kirby style and storytelling.
I mean, I'm almost there's a whole episode on this, but very briefly, I think Kirby was very much into that sort of God was a spaceman, all those books that came out in that period, and a lot of that's in this, coupled with some sort of conspiracy, this was discovered deep in the ground, this is a spaceship, and he did it with the Black Panther series. He did with the there was a sort of Masonic edge to that, and there's some really great ideas.
That whole principle of like to a caveman, like if we showed him a technology from today, it would appear like magic or supernatural. Because they couldn't understand it. That sort of principle of they've got this such high-tech technology, futuristic technology, that to us it's like, okay, what are you doing? But to them, it was just run-of-the-mill stuff.
It was the nearest thing we had to the New Gods, I think, because he'd obviously come away from DC, and New Gods hadn't been that great a hit, and he came and did Eternals, and almost like
his second run at the same sort of idea, or
in a way, I think, I do. Yeah, there's similar parallels between some of the characters, aren't there? Yeah. Yeah,
it's funny when there's like one of the female characters who's kind of like not sort of the love interest, but not really, and she's being looked after by Cersei, and then like she's got a mirror on the wall which acts as like a communicator to someone else, like a kind of like a FaceTime. And she's like, you're talking to your mirror. It's amazing. And she goes, yeah, I suppose you can call it that.
I just love, the art. You could live in the art. It's just incredible. Yeah. He does a lot of those double page spreads in that, doesn't he?
Yes. It's got,
beautiful.
In the back, there's the uncolored, uninked, the pencils version. And
right.
I noticed that on these versions, I presume they're the pencils, but like all the lettering's on there.
Oh, okay.
Sure he did that on page. Like sometimes they kind of like...
He fitted it in so the lettering could come in later and... Okay.
Yeah, but it looks like here that the lettering's done.
Okay, before it's inked. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the Eternals 2, pages 8 to 11, pencil art by Jack Kirby, and it's literally everything on there. The text.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
What a draft.
Just incredible. And I know you could do an whole episode on just who inked him. The stuff there is just nice, heavy inks. Yeah. Yeah.
You like with the films, like if you're going to go for, you've got the whole Marvel universe to make characters of, New Warriors, Moon Knight, anyone, but the Eternals, it seems such a bizarre choice.
Yeah, it's almost like a mini series to me. Sort of.
Yeah,
they didn't work out with the Inhumans, did it? I suppose so.
Yeah, but they're kind of like the mythos that the Eternals brings is kind of, it turns the story on its head in a lot of things because these big players have been there from.
I know the Hulk appears in that series, but it was kind of its own pocket universe, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. But like I said, you can get away with that in comics in this kind of like film universe that they've made. Maybe not so much. I don't know. I'm never going to be watching that film. Not hating it.
He says that now, but just give it a couple of months.
I've not seen bloody Black Widow.
You seen Shang-Chi?
No, I've not seen Shang-Chi. No interest in them anymore.
Just the comics, man.
If you enjoy them, go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. From the big Eternals to something that is essentially a no-brainer. Yes, it's no-brainer. Issue 2. That's my recommendation.
How do you come up with these links?
That's amazing.
I don't know whether you're being honest, but I'll take it because I'm shameless. But from our pal Edison Neo, No Brainer issue 2, the second issue of his solo comics anthology arrived in the post box this week. So immediately I just tore open the package and just consumed it. And I had seen. We did sort of shout about it a little bit while the Kickstarter was going.
Yeah, we pimped it, didn't we?
Yeah, pimped it a little bit, but it wasn't quite in its finishing stages, so I just wanted to consume it all again. And it's just an absolute win from cover to cover. Edison is a comic creator who not only is just unbelievably talented. he's going to be signed up surely by someone soon. He's just his storytelling is not only funny, but he tells action like few people can, I think.
God, yeah, he's got it, hasn't he?
And he just wants to make comics for the sake of making comics. On the Kickstarter page, which he's totally getting a hand of his Kickstarter campaign is a real thing as well. It's just he's putting artwork and all kinds of stuff on there. It's not just a simple paragraph. There's loads of stuff. I know if you follow him on Instagram, etc., some of the commissions people are getting from him are unreal. What they got as part of this campaign. But the main thing was, the commissions are cool, but the comic itself is absolutely brilliant. Basic no-brainer is there's one ongoing story that goes throughout it, which is Thuumgard. This one has Final Mission Chapter 2 in it. And then there's a couple of extra little stories in the back as well. Thuumgard, for those who don't know, is a big bombastic sci-fi action sort of bounty hunter who's a space ape, basically, who has a strange alien little cat crab type monster called Scully, who's his partner, and giant monsters, explosions. This short story. I say it's a short story. This isn't just 6 pages. He's actually telling the pacing's just brilliant, but. They're about to land on a planet, and and as they're entering the atmosphere, something sort of comes in contact with the ship, and cue giant alien monsters and badass action. But in the lead up to that, there's lots of like really quirky, hilarious dialogue as well. I mean, we've talked enough about his artwork, and we could talk about it for days. But he's got a real handle on like real sharp dialogue as well. His writing's really on point. I mean, he's got like a character called Grandpa Cassius who introduces the books as well, who he's created as a character that hates the comics he's in, seemingly. He's horrible. He's a funny little character. There's also two other stories, one of which is my favourite short story I've read for quite some time, Run of the Salmon, which is literally salmon on one of their epic travels to their spawning grounds. Anyone who's watched a nature documentary knows that is pretty intense when they have to swim upstream and avoid bears and the like.
Oh yeah.
But this story gives it a whole new sort of epic view of it, which has a real sting in its tail as well. The last like half of a page is like, oh my god. So that's worth seeing for itself. And the third story is The Mole, which is sort of like a mafiosa like tale where he's mixed up his style a little bit as well. It looks quite sort of almost old styley Will Eisner kind of sort of a pulpy sort of comic book type stuff. But that is also the classic sort of short story that when you get to the last bit there is a little twist in the tale. I always get the printed editions, which they're smaller comic books, and he put a little statement sort of saying why he wanted the smaller books, because I mean they're cheaper to print for him, but they're also they're a nice little size, and it is quite a nice little comic book. Did you get the printed copy as well, Tony?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got I think I got a different cover from you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I was amusing myself by reading the letters. Yeah. Just then as you were talking, and I realised that he's put one that's like really rude to him in there. Yeah. Good on you, man. Good on you.
Which is hilarious. I think I pledged early, so I got a Kickstarter variant cover. That's why I got a different cover.
Oh, nice one.
To you, Tony.
Okay. Mine's signed as well. Yours is signed, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just top stuff. Of course, knowing him, he's already halfway through No Brainer 3, or he's probably done it, and it'll be in our postbox tomorrow. But in all seriousness, it's a great campaign by someone that the stories that are in this, if there's more issues, he'll collect them in sort of an oversized sort of book. But right now, this is just some of my most fun comics of the year. It's just fun comics, which is what we need a lot more of, I think. And I love it. I'm already ready for issue 3, which is probably no doubt just around the corner. So yeah, No Brainer. When the next campaign comes out, you'll probably be able to catch up on it, and I highly recommend you do. So there you go. That's mine. And Tony, sign us off.
Yeah, I got just one last one. Just to say, this year we've had Monsters, Raptor, we've had Department of Truth, and what a year to be reading comics, because we got a new Blacksad out. So mine's Blacksad. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. It's just going to be a very brief intro, brief recommend. Have any of you read this yet?
I haven't read the new one. I really need to catch up on Blacksad, which is one of my favourite titles, one of the most stunningly beautiful series of books that's ever been created for comics. And if you disagree, you're a knob.
Rich, have you ever read it?
I haven't. No. It's on my.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about it. Did you do it with Al on your podcast?
I did it with Tom. Tom Stewart came on and talked about it. Yeah. But it's one of those. I'm a bit like a lot of other people where people told me to read it. I went, yeah. There's a lot of comics to read. Yeah, whatever. And then I eventually read it and went, fucking hell. Yeah. Why have I not read this? Yeah. I remember you saying, Dan, actually. Yeah. So this is volume 6, and it's called They All Fall Down Part 1. Just be aware, this is only a part story. So this is the first part of a story. I think it's only about 39 pages. Writer Juan Diaz Canales, artist Juanjo Gardini, published by Europe Comics, obviously, thanks to Heiter Kayan and Nazelli, who I think have had a cold this week, so get better soon.
Get better.
Yeah, it opens with them at God, the pages on this, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like give up. All those artists out there, just give up and go home. You'll never get this good. It's like they're at an open air performance of The Tempest, and it's the hillside or the grass verge watching it is full of people. And it's interrupted as there's a police raid on the stage, and apparently the play had infringed on a couple of bylaws, and the police are putting a stop to it. But Blacksad knows one of the police inspectors, goes up, and it's all sort of calmed down, and there's no middle class riot, the Shakespeare riot, and the play's allowed to continue, and it's finished, and even the cops are cheering at the end. And Weekly, who is Blacksad's he's like a dirt digging journalist photographer, he's there. He goes backstage as he's got a bit of a crush on one of the actresses in it, but the world keeps turning, and Blacksad goes back to his day job as a private investigator. And there's a great line which says, when I get home with a peace of mind and my knuckles intact, that's what I call a good day, which is a classic noir sentence, like a narration sentence. But he comes across a businessman who is a small, for those that don't know, this is anthropomorphic. Blacksad is a cat. Weekly is, I think it's a weasel or something. So he comes across this businessman who's getting a kick in an alley. He's getting robbed, and he's like a small bat-headed man. And he stands up for him and beats these. He's quite hard, Blacksad, and he beats these guys up and they run off. And it turns out this businessman is there to employ Blacksad, and he needs his help with the Weasel Mafia, which is great. And they've sent a hitman after him, and he says he employs Blacksad to stop the hitman, to find him and stop him killing him. And that's where it opens. I'm not going to spoil anything more than that, because I think you deserve and should read it. They're just genius. I think there's a collected edition, which is the first. Is it the first 3 books, Dan? I know you got that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got
that right?
The collected edition.
Yeah, the first 3 books, and then there's 2 more since then. I've got you can get them. I think Dark Horse are doing them. They're like a large BD format size book, but this is digital. I read this on. It's as always, it's a tour de force. It's just the art and everything is will absolutely blow your face off. Each book tends to have a slightly different vibe to it. We had the one that was the first book, which was the opening one, that was the femme fatale, the noir murder, the rich billionaire and all this sort of thing. And then you had the one which was clearly the metaphor for the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah. But the setting for this one is New York. Times are hard in New York, and it's the mixing up of problems between big business, the unions, who are the moles, who people obviously work underground, who are actually moles, and the mafia. And that's the story. That's the setting for it. It's just every page, every panel. We were talking about earlier, weren't we? Flipping through a Comixology, guided view, and you can spot which of the smaller panels. You'd be hard pressed to do that with this art, actually. Yeah. But you will. It is a start, so just beware. It's not a full story as we've had with previous volumes, but it's well worth it. Get it? It's just amazing. I bought mine on Comixology, but yeah, have a look for that one. I'm hoping it's going to come out in the same sort of BD hardback volume that I've previously had, and it will sort of continue my collection. But Blacksad Volume 6, They All Fall Down. There you go.
There you go.
Nice one.
Yeah, what an amazing collection of comic books to add to your wish lists, and basically just make your bookshelves heave even more. That's what we're here for. Yeah. And we hope you enjoyed. Heave indeed. Oh God, well, let's not go there. But we hope you enjoyed this week's episode and everything that was contained within from ourselves and our lovely guest. Thank you again, Richard, for joining us.
Thank you for the invite. Pleasure to be here.
Always great to have you on, mate. Always good. Yeah.
So well spoken. Pleasure to be here. Wonderful. And we hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything upcoming that you want us to talk about, or if you've got any comics events or upcoming comics you want us to know about, then you can email us, awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @theawesomepod. We'll probably be a little bit more active on the run-up to Thought Bubble, where we're just shamelessly plugging our shit like the whores we are. I mean, no, because we'll have some cool stuff at Thought Bubble. So follow us on there at The Awesome Pod. If you do the Book of Faces, go to facebook.com/Awesome Comics Podcast. Join the community group Awesome Comics Talk, because there's a great group of people on there who just want to talk about comics, making comics, going to comics events, and just everything in general. Likewise, there's a wonderful community of people over on the Awesome Comics Talk, Awesome Comics Podcast Slack channel. If you want to get involved with that, get in touch with us and join the group. All different
new
types
people this week. Yeah,
different
definitely growing.
Subjects, different topics of conversation, and everyone's welcome. You just got to be nice. That's all it is. And if you like comics, then we're sure you're lovely. Isn't that right?
Yeah, man, it's the place to be.
Everyone's nice on there. It's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for listening to us as always, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing. You took your time to listen to us for a couple of hours, and we absolutely bloody love you for it. So thank you for listening, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave a review. Helps like the algorithms or whatever. Rhythm is a dancer. All that sort of nonsense. Don't know how the internet works, but it helps us get the word out about the show, and more people learn about comics events and everything that we talk about week on week. If you listen to us on any other networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what other networks are we on, Tony?
Well, just in time for Thought Bubble, we're back on Podloo.
I don't know. He caught me there. I don't know. Normally, some of these have been so elaborate recently that I
Podloo. Lou's back. Yeah. We love Lou. Ask PhD. He knows.
Yeah. Oh God, the penny drops. But wherever you listen to us, thank you very much. And if you want to follow us in our other endeavours, when we're not stuck in a bunker, talking to each other in the dark, could be worse in the dark. But where can people find us online, etc.? Tony.
The 10th comic collaboration with me and Mr. Falp hits Patreon this week, and we're very proud of it. So it's patreon.com/tribute press. There you go.
Nice. Dan?
I think it's patreon.com Vanguard Comic. I'm posting up the Viper stuff there. I've been navigating my way through colouring Grant's pinup, which has been really tricky.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
It looks amazing.
Yeah. So I'm trying my best on that. So come take a look, see where we're getting on.
Nice. And you can follow me on the socials at Jester Diablo. And thank you once again to our lovely guest, Richard Sheaf.
Cheers, Rich.
Just for the people in the back, where can they find you again?
You can find me at Richard and Sheaf or Boys Adventure Comics blogspot.com.
Good stuff, man.
There you go. Go forth. Check out Rich's blog and everything that we talked about this week. And have a brilliant week. Wherever you are in the world, we hope you're happy, healthy, doing okay. We'll be back to look after you next week, like we always do.
Yeah.
And it's going to be next week. We're going to do a little bit of a convention talk, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a convention coming up?
Yeah, there is. There is, and we've got some exciting stuff to talk about next week. So make sure you come back and see what we're going to talk about next week. But until then, have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics, or make loads of comics, you crazy mothers. And from Dan, Tony, Richard and myself, stay true, stay fruity, and what's the other thing they got to stay, guys?
Stay awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, beautiful. I'll take that. I'll take that. Bye, everyone.
Will you?
See you later.
Bye.
I said I've got a boner, and you said I'll take that.
Yeah, any day of the week.
Not a lie.
All the way to the balls.
What?
What?
Oh, God.